Hi guys, I am back. I know I've been late, but this came into my mind and I want to get this out because it sounds really fun and cool. So yeah, if you haven't read the title, this is what if Izumi, or Deku, has a sompokto. This sompokto is really powerful, like stupid powerful, like reality bending powerful, kind of. That's only in Bankai, and you'll see why. We start our story off when Izumi is 4.5. All for One has Dr. Ujiko check her because biological daughter and all. And Ujiko sees that she has a powerful quirk, doesn't know what it is. So All for One kills Inko, obliterates her right in front of Izumi, breaking Izumi's mind a little, and then tries to take her quirk. Well, if you know what a sompokto is, you know that's part of the soul, not the body, so nothing actually happens. So he gets frustrated and he beats her, and at the end he reveals that she's his daughter and that no one will love her, and so on and so on. So she mentally shuts down. She's taken to the hospital, plugged in, looking for anybody. And All Might's on the case too, because All for One attacked them. And they did a test on 3 blood types that they found. They found the male blood type is a complete match to All for One. The child's blood type has 50% of All for One's and 50% of the female's blood type that was in there. So everybody knew, well, everybody who knows of All for One knows that this is his daughter. And she's in a coma. And the Bakugo, who is male in this one, tells them, because All Might's attempting to get someone to go through her mind, he tells them that she wants to be a hero and that she just got her quirk and it's apparently something powerful, but no one knows what it is. Now one day, a hero with a basically crafting ability comes in. And this hero is an old hero, and he's not known by very many people. Only the literal high ups of the support community, like David Shield and the super or famous heroes that know not to give him away, like All Might. He comes into the room and he sees her, and he just pulls a sword out of pretty much nowhere and puts it next to her. Her hand immediately snaps to it, and this sword completely changes. It completely changes into what looks like glass. He unsheaths the sword just a tiny bit to see what the blade looks like because he's curious. And he doesn't grab it by the handle. No, he grabs it by the tsuba. The little metal piece that keeps your hand from slipping onto the blade and cutting yourself. That. And he grabs it by there, sees what the blade looks like, and sheaths it. He takes a piece of twine. And it's not any normal twine. This stuff can withstand an All Might trying to rip it apart. And he wraps it very gently, but still firmly. And he walks out and sees Suguchi, Eraserhead, All Might, them all running towards him. And he goes, "That blade shall not leave her side. Until she wakes up, do not touch that blade and do not try to open it." And he just walks off. He turns the corner, just disappears to everybody's surprise. And they walk in, they see the blade, and they see her tiny hand grabbing it. Now we skip a few years, and we see Izumi in the back of someone's house. Now, a class of UA was really good friends, and Midnight, Aizawa and Mike lived together for a little bit. And Aizawa saw what was happening to her and put in the adoption papers because he wanted to adopt her. And Midnight learned about this and looked at the child and was like, no, let me adopt her because you have your own situations and I wanted a child. And he goes, is your wife going to be okay with that? And she goes, yeah, I'll just bring her up. Ryukyu. Yes, Ryukyu and Midnight. So they agree to adopt her and take her in when she fully wakes up, because she's been slowly waking up and getting basically more brain functions. Since a spike in brain functions years ago, well, not actually years ago, but months ago, because this is before, Izumi is in the backyard of their house. Aizawa, Mike, and Midnight and Ryukyu are visiting because they're planning a raid on someplace and they need someone to watch Izumi. So they call up one of their old teachers, Nezu. They call up Nezu to watch her. And they put 3 rules for Nezu. 1, don't turn on humanity. 2, don't mentally scar her any worse than she already is. And 3, do not touch the sword. And this sword never leaves her side. It physically can't. She tries to leave it somewhere, it won't come off her hand. She puts it in like a belt, it stays there. No matter how many people try tugging it away, it just doesn't leave her side. And they found out that if someone besides her and her family, because she's already gotten used to calling the mother and father, yes, it's Dadzawa. You'll understand later when she says it in front of everybody and like, wait, what? So she already calls them mother and mom and so on. So Nezu agrees to these 3 simple rules and knows the etiquette of normal homes. So he goes and he watches her during the raid. He keeps an earpiece on to keep an eye to see if Midnight or Ryukyu get injured. Nobody gets injured. Raid is completely successful. And something amazing happened when they came back. The twine was cut. Now, let's hop back to when she was awakened. She finally awoke a year after. So this is 2.5 years after she woke up that she was in the backyard. So yeah. So she's older, but she's finally woken up and she sees the sword and she's like, what is your name? Straight to the sword. And everybody who was there, because they knew she was waking up but didn't know when, and she's just staring at the sword. The Tsuba looks like glass and nobody can open the sword, so they don't know what the blade looks like, but the crafter does. So everybody thinks, she watched a cartoon about it. And then they all thought this, and then she says, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. And she has this contemplative look on her face. So the twine, back at present time with the twine being cut, she unsheaths it fully. It looks like diamond. And she says, with it pointed right out in front of her, show them the horrors of their own mind. Izanagi grabs the bottom of the hilt and then says, show them the show them the reality they see. Izanami. And these two beautiful blades with dragon heads that come out. And these beautiful blades, one's crystal white and then one's obsidian black. And she just looks at them. Everybody saw her do this. And then she looks up and says, that's not her real name. And everybody just looks at her weirdly. And she goes, it's not her real name. And then puts the two blades cross section and it forms into one blade again and sheaths it. Now we skip. It's been many years. She's now, I'd say, 18 and a half. The UA entrance exam's about to start. She's right in front of it. And Mama Midnight and Dad Zawa are in the control room. And they're told they cannot judge their daughter. And as I was like, I'm completely impartial to this. I don't give bias to any side. And everybody looks at him with doubt. And Ned's just like, that is honestly fair. But since you've been kind of adopted by her, but to be your uncle-ish role, you're now the unofficial father. And so on. So I'm sorry, but no. He goes, dang. I was going to be super scrutinous about her exam. And Midnight slaps him in the arm, being like, don't be rude. Because I'm not. I'm just being realistic. And the door starts to crack. And they see her pull out Izanami and Izanagi. She doesn't need to say the complete chant anymore. But she goes, this is the first time I'm using it. And everybody hears this and immediately gets onto the edge of their seat because everybody at UA knows her. Including All Might, because he came by and he's been chatting with all the heroes and he met her. And she goes, shatter the line between illusion and reality. Tsukuyomi. And this reverberates through all the training grounds within UA. All of UA. And everybody just sees a crack in front of them. And the sword changes into that beautiful purple katana you saw. That one. And she just disappears. The door fully opens completely. And all the robots they see are completely falling apart. And all they hear is Dance of the Crescent Moon. All the robots that have fallen apart go into smaller pieces. And smaller pieces. And smaller pieces. And all they see in the sky, because it's glowing really brightly, is a crescent moon. And that's it. She just appears next to him and goes, you know, I'm breathing really hard. I really shouldn't have done that. And she sheaths her sword and goes back to normal. Crescent moon just fades away into the sky. And she's using her sword as like a cane. And all the rest, Shinso, Mineta, all the people who I honestly feel like got wrongly placed. Including Bakugo. Bakugo doesn't know her anymore. He tried to get in touch with her, but she just completely cut ties with him because he bullied her a little, and she's like, I don't want to be around him. So all of them have to take a new test. She got number 1. No doubt about that. She got number 1. So we skip to first day. And she walked into school. She wasn't in the same training ground as Ida. Ida was somewhere else, and he got into 1A. And she walks into school, and she goes into her classroom and sees Ida. Ida immediately looks up and immediately sees the sword and starts berating her for having the sword. And she just deadpan looks at him and goes, okay, should I start berating you about the engines in your legs then? Because this is my quirk, and if you don't back off, I'm going to cut your legs off and berate you for having engines in your legs. And everybody just looks at her just terrified. There's a girl in the back, dark skinned, white haired, has bunny ears, and she's like, damn, that's hot. And immediately goes red faced because she said it really quietly, but she saw Izumi immediately blush when she said that. Izumi is the only other person who has the same amount of hearing as Mirako. Yes, Mirako, Rumi, whatever you want to call her, is in UA. Momo is not in UA. She's a pro hero. So I'm not going to talk about her. Now, here's the fun bit. What? Mirako is sitting the second to last seat in a row. The seat behind her does not have anybody in it. Everybody else is in class. And she's walking towards the seat, turns around, and just walks towards the seat again. Just backwards. She sits down on the seat, and then she's like, 3, 2, 1, just low enough to where Mirako can hear her, but nobody else can. And they both just hear thump from the door, and Aizawa walking in, and he goes, it took you X amount of seconds to be quiet. Shut up, sit down, and get ready to become heroes, because I am not holding back. So Izumi looks directly at him, and she sees a mischievous glint in his eyes. The only other person who can notice that is Mirako, but she doesn't know what that feeling is that's behind his eyes. So Aizawa walks up to the podium, grabs it in his sleeping bag, and pulls out of nowhere a giant box. Yes, the box is 2 times as big as the sleeping bag. Yes, I know. That makes no sense. And he says, grab your uniforms. We're going out to the sports field. Now, everybody gets to the locker room. Izumi sees Mina, Mirako, Uraka, Tsuyu, and Toru. Yes, Toru is part of this class because I believe she deserves a spot. And even though she's invisible, she's still a really good hero. And Izumi goes, why is her hair so green? And everybody looks around thinking, what? And Toru looks at her and goes, what? Who are you talking to? She points directly at Toru and goes, you? And she goes, what do you mean? She goes, your hair is green. It's a weird color. I've never seen that color before in hair. And everybody's like, what do you mean? She's invisible. And she goes, she's invisible? She thinks of something and then immediately goes to her phone, puts in a number, and goes, yo, old man. And they hear her shouting on the other end. She goes, I think I got another one. And he immediately shuts up and goes, what's the situation? She goes, invisibility. Can't turn it off. Really pretty, though. And Mirako has this feeling in her chest, but doesn't know what it is. And he goes, any other ones? And she goes, maybe this bird-headed guy? Don't know, you're going to have to visit. And he goes, damn it. Fine. And she hangs up the phone, and everybody's like, who's that? And she goes, the same person who made me my blade. And they're like, what? He goes, there's certain quirks where they need an outlet, and other quirks that just have too much power that they need another outlet. So like Dark Shadow for Tokoyami. And at this point, people in the other room are hearing them. And she's explaining that Dark Shadow for Tokoyami is an outlet for his power. But he may have too much power, so he needs another outlet where his body can release this extra energy. And everybody's like, what? And she goes, don't worry, you'll understand when he gets here. They get out to the sports field. They see an old man, a really old man, and he sees the two students that she was talking about. And he actually sees Hagakure, the Invisible Girl. And he walks right up to her, gives her an appraising look, and goes to the bag and starts rummaging around. They hear cat hisses, they hear snake hisses, they hear dog barking, they hear an elephant. They're like, what the hell is in that bag? And he goes, found it. He pulls out a throwing knife and then splits it in 10. And then he shoves it in his other hand and reaches down and grabs the pack for it and puts it in. And he says, cut your hand on one of them and then they'll be good. She's like, okay. Cuts her hand on one of them. All of a sudden she shimmers into existence. And he walks right over to Tokoyami, looks directly at him, and goes, who's Dark Shadow? Dark Shadow pops out and goes, yo. And he goes, that's not your true form, is it? And he goes, nope. So he looks at Dark Shadow again, reaches in and pulls out a sword. It looks the exact same as Izumi's original sword, but he hands it straight over to Tokoyami and goes, grab it. Tokoyami grabs it, and all of a sudden Dark Shadow goes, bye-bye. And Tokoyami's like, what? And Izumi just starts busting a gut laughing and says, he can't use his quirk right now. He needs to go meditate. Aizawa looks at the sword and sees that the handle went pure jet black. The Tsuba, pure yellow, which is weird. And the old man pulls out a thing of twine and wraps it up and says, when that gets cut by the sword, you know it's time to call its name. And everybody know it's time for you to use your quirk again. And then just walks around a corner and just disappears again. And then they just hear a boom. And someone going, ow, my head. And All Might comes out from around another corner. And then they just see this giant dumbbell go thump onto the ground, just cracked in half. The old man pick it up with one hand and just walk away again. And Aizawa's like, now that the assistant teacher is here, and All Might's like, God. So he looks at Tokoyami and says, we're going to have to do this later for you. And we'll do it when you unlock your second form of the sword. So go over there, and he points to the gym. Sit down, in probably the darkest place you can, and try to get into your inner world, basically. And everybody's like, what inner world? And he goes, you'll understand later, it's a further on tactic. And he whistles to the school. Midnight pokes her head out going, huh? He goes, we got another one. He goes, another what? Izumi. And she goes, oh, crap. I'll be right there. And Izumi deadpans at him and goes, why'd you have to call mom? And everybody stares at her, and he goes, well, first off, she knows your abilities better than Ryukyu. And second off, she knows your abilities way better than mine, way better than me, and I gotta teach this class. She goes, fine. So they go through it. Izumi gets to the ball test, or ball throw, because he had Katsuki, he throw the ball, and Katsuki got his average. And so she gets up there and she goes, "Can I go full power?" And he goes, "Do you have full control yet?" And she goes, "Yeah, I've had full control for a month now." And he goes, "Sure." So she pulls out her sword, and instead of going into Shikai, she immediately goes into Bodkai. Shatter the line between reality and illusion, Tsukuyomi. And then she grabs the ball, cuts into it with a sword, and she spins, it says, "Moon landing," and launches it. A few seconds later, it arrives on the moon, and he goes, "It landed on the moon finally." And she goes, "Yes!" So, oh, I found the other part of the sprinkler thing. Yeah, I ran over a sprinkler with my lawnmower. Yeah, I've been finding pieces everywhere. Sorry for getting off the story. So, that's the end of day one. She goes home. Ryukyu asked how day one was, and she said Dadzawa, because she's been calling him that lately at home, was mean, and he made her go last. Midnight wakes up and says, "Well, if you didn't call the old man, he wouldn't have made you go last. He would have probably made you go second." She goes, "I don't care. The old man was needed. Higakure got her whatever the hell he gave her. I didn't quite see. I didn't really care to. And then we have another sword user." And they both look at her and go, "Okay, first off, your understanding of quirks is absolutely freaking terrifying." And she goes, "I know, it's great." And she goes, "Second off, what about Mina? Mina has her acid. It's already there." And she goes, "What about Shoji? He's got the dupli arms, remember? Each arm is another outlet. What about Koda? His voice. I don't know about the Shinso kid, though." Everybody looks at her and goes, "What?" She goes, "That Shinso kid. The purple hair, very bored looking eyes, looks like Aizawa without caffeine for a few days." And and immediately Midnight starts laughing, because that's exactly what he looked like. She then says, "What do you mean you don't know about him?" Well, she goes, "Well, didn't see his quirk. Don't know what it does and don't know how powerful it is." She goes, "Okay, I can tell you what his quirk is." She goes, "No, not right now." So I go to the second day. It's the hero basic training. It's honestly just a battle royale for students. Izumi has to fight Mirako. Yeah. Izumi sees Mirako's on the opposite team with, let's go with Hagakure. Yeah, Hagakure. And on her team is Uraraka. Hagakure doesn't know how to use the throwing knives yet. She just asked about that. She'll get it later, and so on. So, Izumi and Uraraka, Hagakure, and Mirako. Now, Mirako goes maybe 100%. Izumi goes maybe 75%. And she pulls out her Shikai, Izanagi and Izanami. Well, she only did that because she saw something behind Mirako's eyes and she wanted her to fix that. She goes, Look to your inner world and find your inner peace. Ultimate move of Izanagi. Rumi, Mirko, gets shoved into her mind, and one of her memories that is painful for her gets played. It's the death of her parents. Yes, she's an orphan. She lived at an orphanage. Now she's at the college with all the heroes. And it takes maybe 13 days for her. But in reality, it was like 5 seconds. So she comes out and she has a single tear fall down her face. And she goes, "What was that?" And Izumi looks directly at her and says, "Your soul is now complete. Completely attached to your body, meh, but your soul is complete." She goes, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, I have the ability, due to my sword, to see into the emotional states of souls. Your soul was cracked, fractured, like mine was, until my own sword put me in an illusion to get over my mother's death and my father's betrayal, but meh. Now I have two great mothers and a father who doesn't act like a father. He more acts like the unwanted uncle that you can't seem to get rid of and has the best intentions for you." And Mirko looks at her like, "What?" She goes, "Dad Zawa." Mirko immediately busts a gut laughing, thinking of Aizawa as a dad. So she goes, "Hand to hand only?" Izumi goes, "Sure." Puts her swords away. Sheathes it. And they go through hand to hand, courtesy of Aizawa. She got a hand to hand combat training. I'm going to end it after this day. After our time skip to the USJ day, but after this day. So they fight hand to hand. Mirko mainly uses kicks more than punches, but she puts up a good fight. Izumi finally gets her on the backhand or back foot when 30 minutes go by. It's a half an hour, or All Might finally says, hero team wins. And everybody's like, "What?" And he goes, "I forgot, Hagakure was there." And he points and and they all see that Hagakure is currently holding the bomb like a koala. And everybody's like, "How the hell did she get there?" And they point at a screen where Ochaku is trying to fight off Hagakure. And Hagakure goes, "Release." And the knife, who was a physical light illusion, falls to the ground and sinks into the stone like it was cardboard. Or, yeah, like it was cardboard. And everybody's like, "What the hell?" She goes, "I don't know how to throw knives, but I know how to use them." And All Might's like, "So how long have you been on that bomb?" She goes, "Since the beginning of the match. I like hugging stuff." And she starts rubbing her cheek against the bomb. And he goes, "That is honestly weird, but okay, you do you." Hero team wins. Without me noticing. So Hagakure and Izumi meet up, and Izumi gives her a high five and says, "I know someone who can teach you how to use those knives, but he's kind of a prude." And she goes, "Let me guess. Your father figure. This guy named Dadzawa." And Izumi just grins and goes, "Yep." She goes, "We'll see." So Tokoyami finally learned Shikai in this month. Time skip. And so he went on to do other stuff, but he learned Shikai and he started to learn Bankai through special training of Izumi's. Yeah, he's not asking Izumi for training anymore. But they're all getting on the bus, and all of a sudden 3 people show up. Nejire, and Majiki, and Mirio. Immediately they all see Izumi and wave to her. She waves back. They all get together. They start talking in the back. And Izumi sees that Miriko is about to sit down in front of her. And she goes, I should just do it. So she walks right up to Miriko, grabs her by the arms, picks her up. Miriko's freaking out, goes to the back, sits down, and sits Miriko on her lap. And hugs her. And they're like, what? And she goes, bunny. And Nejire finally sees the ears and then the feet. And she goes, oh, it's adorable. And Izumi goes, yeah, bunny. I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you guys enjoy this part. I'm going to finish this very soon with a rematch where All For One dies and they could finally say the symbol of fear is gone. The number 1 villain is dead. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, consider hitting that like button, subscribing. Comment what I did wrong. I like constructive criticism. Don't be like, you did this, and wrong, and this is why your channel sucks. Please don't. Please don't. That isn't constructive criticism. That is just being a jerk. Well, I'm off. Talk to you guys later. Goodbye.